Bro, let me let me understand something from you to get into this topic. Um, you got a car, don't you?
Yep.
What's your process for deciding on buying a car?
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, I was looking at this yesterday because I need a bigger one.
Oh, really? You got a number four on the way.
I wish. But if I wanted to have a number four, I'd need a bigger car.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, man. I think I've hit the cap of how of what I can get at this point because I suppose you'd need to look at what do you need to look at? You'd need to look at general overall price and what you need. Like if you need more seats, then that's what you're looking for.
Mm.
You know, I'm not really like a car head, but if it
Mm.
looks nice, that's it.
Okay, so you
you
do
know,
care what it looks like.
I might look, I might care a little bit of what it looks like. I remember when I got this one, I remember thinking, oh, this looks nice.
Okay.
Uh,
So you care about what it looks like, you say?
yeah, but I was just saying, when I asked my dad, I asked him like, what do you think about this particular car? And he was just like, oh, these days they're all good. Like, it's not really,
Yeah.
and generally they are, aren't they? And I mean, they're all built to a particular safety standard.
You
Um,
talking about brand new or not brand new?
no, I've never bought like a fresh brand new car, I suppose.
Okay,
I
okay.
think this one had about 70,000 miles on it. Um, but brand new is like it's pretty difficult to get that kind of money and put it down on a vehicle when there's so many other things you could do about it. And like there's different options, isn't there? But a lot of them are going to have like interest or riddled with interest in their kind of dealings, whether it's leasing it or whether it's financing it or whether it's all sorts. And
Yeah.
yes, there are some like zero finance options, but even they've got some discussions around them.
Hmm.
Um, but at the same time, that opens up another can of worms whether a car is necessary or not for a particular individual. That's
Hmm.
another thing you have to ask yourself. Is it a necessity for you? I mean, I
Hmm.
think it is for me,
Hmm.
but there's a lot of like, younger people that will splash a lot of money on a car that they can't necessarily afford, but it's just for them. And it's like, hey, do you really need that? What about you then? You thinking about getting a car?
I am, brother.
I am, man.
Yeah,
So,
I am.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I was asking you how you think about it because I was imagining that would be very different to me. Um, but
Uh,
yeah, you know what happened? I think this was the trigger for me. Yeah, like since I got to Turkey, Alhamdulillah, bro, it's the dream in terms of I don't even need a car. I have not needed a car. I have not felt any much pain of not having a car, even with a family. It's been like pretty good. Okay, it's always nicer to have it, but even like all these years where I've been here without a car, it's like the times where I could see like I would benefit from a car have been like once a week, once every 2 weeks. Okay. And that's like mostly for the family. Obviously for me, pretty much zero. Like I'll be all right.
mm,
But what happened recently was Zipcar, which they have in the UK, it might even be a UK company. Zipcar closed down in Turkey. And I used to
right.
use Zipcar. Like I was like, why do I need to buy a car? Especially, I'll get into the prices of cars in Turkey. But why do I need to buy a car when whenever I need a car, I'll just rent it, even for like 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, or one day, two
Mm,
days. I'll just rent it, bro. And I was like, if I rented a car for one day a week for the whole year, or for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, it would take me, I believe it was 8 years to spend enough to buy a car, right? So I'm
right.
like, that doesn't make sense. Let me just rent. And obviously, when I rent cars, I don't have to worry about insurance. I don't have to worry about it breaking. I don't have to worry about maintenance. I just take it, use and abuse, bro. Use and
Yeah.
abuse. And they always have like the latest models and all of that. You can even switch it up. One day you want to get a four-wheel drive. One day you want to get like a smaller car, a bit cheaper, this and that. It's pick and mix. But a couple months ago they shut down. I'm like, bro, musiba.
Mm,
Yeah, now I'm stuck.
mm,
Now I might
mm,
need a car. I might actually need a car. And also just thinking about, what else triggered it for me actually is when I went to Morocco. When I went to
right.
Morocco, I was, my business partner Mohammed. He lives there. He's got a car. He brought his car there from the UK. He drove it there, and I was like, Yo, like part of the nice experience of going to Morocco was like the ease of communication, but the other half was like, we just want to go there, we just go there. There's not much thinking about it.
Yeah.
But you know, although like 95% of my life is in the same 20-minute walking distance area in Turkey, there is that 5% of the time, which could expand to 10, 15% of the time, where I would actually use a car. Like, what would I do if I had a car? Would I, take my kids to more interesting places? Would I like go to the beach, go to the park, go to the woods, go to the forest, go, I don't know, camping? Would I do these things more often? Like 100%. So that kind of got me thinking, like these two things, like the zip car closing down and then just realizing how in Morocco is like, yeah, you want to do that, you just go and do it because you got a car. So that got me thinking, got me looking into it. And it's also combined, I suppose, like this is the thing, bro. You have a feeling and then you justify it with logic, right? So,
Yeah.
so the other thing was like, to be honest, bro, alhamdulillah, like I've been saving money for years, and my goal was always like to be a very good investor. Like I'm saving money and I'm not like spending it like, what's the word? Frivolously. I'm not like splashing it. I'm like disciplined. I'm saving money and I'm investing it and I'm building up like quote unquote passive income. But that hasn't turned out for me because, bro, every single place I turn is haram. Everything's haram, bro. Like, obviously, not everything is haram, but a lot of these investment vehicles, although like the many people say they're halal, when I get into it, and this is, fundamental and essential for any Muslim, that when they're investing in something, they must be convinced that it's halal, right?
Okay.
And if you've got a question in your mind, and obviously it's based on some sort of sharia, some sort of opinion of a scholar based on Quran and Sunnah, or you've just seen a hadith that makes you question something, you need to get to the bottom of that and find contentment in the answer before you actually now go and invest in that thing, right? So for me, bro, when it comes to, like we've discussed before on the podcast, when it comes to the stock market, when it comes to, I don't know, sukuk, when it comes to, what else is there out there? Even, bro, crowdfunded real estate, which I found a sick platform for. Ultimately, I invested in it, but then later I realized, there was a clause there that I just couldn't get around. So what am I doing? I'm sitting on savings. I'm not really investing it. Recently, I've been getting into crypto. Maybe we can talk about that. But I've got some money, so I'm like, well, why have I got money? Like, if I'm not investing it, I might as well use it for the comfort of my family and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
that's the emotion that was then justified by logic.
How are you doing like groceries and stuff? Like, how does that work?
What do you mean exactly? Oh, how do I physically get it? I would say
Like, do you do a
80%
large
of it.
shop or are you doing like a little bit every day that you can carry
Yeah,
by hand?
80% of it is supermarket has an app where you could just order and they deliver. That's
Oh,
80%.
okay. Fair enough.
And then
Right.
20% I go once a week as well. And I walk there. Like I walk, it's probably 7 minutes walk there, 7 minutes back. It's a pain to be
Right.
honest, but that's life, bro. Like, come on,
Yeah.
you gotta walk to the shop, bro. Don't be too lazy. But
No,
yeah,
no, of course.
yeah. Sometimes I what's the word? I flop on that basically. Sometimes I'm like, just don't get around to doing the shopping, and then my wife's like, yeah, there's no dinner because you didn't buy anything to cook.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm,
Well,
I'm
yeah, that's every
exaggerating a
man's.
bit, but it does sometimes get to a similar level to that. It's all my fault.
Yeah.
So yeah, bro. So then I was like justifying it to myself. Then I started like looking at cars. This is the mad thing, bro. So cars are like, it obviously depends how old you want to go and all of that, right? But you could get an old banger, like 15-year-old car here, and it will still be like £5,000. Okay. Because I believe the taxes on cars here are about 100%, maybe 120%. So if a
Yeah.
car is, £2,000, then actually it will be selling for £4,000 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not to mention, over the last 3-4 years, I believe there's been a huge shortage of new cars coming onto the market. If you go to the dealers, like you want a brand new car, they don't even have brand new cars for you. I remember speaking to a guy that has a car rental business, and he's like, bro, I don't. He had an electric scooter. I'm like, weird flex, but
Mm.
okay. He's like, yeah, I rent even my personal car out because I ran out of cars and I want to
Yeah.
make as much money as I can. So I rent my own car out and I just use the electric scooter like in the summer season and
Yeah.
stuff. So so yeah, bro, we're talking about like probably minimum £5,000. But when you're getting into a car that's not, it's gonna not gonna have as many issues, not gonna have so much maintenance issues, gonna have higher resale value. We're talking about, let's say, like 15K, and
Yeah, that's crazy.
that's like on the lower side though. Like that's like a car that's done maybe 120K kilometers, something like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, the cars are very firmly pushed into that bracket of like houses, where it's like the only way of doing it feasibly is not buying them outright. It's
Yeah,
financing, and it's
yeah,
like it's the same thing in Tunisia. Like where I live, obviously we've mentioned many times how rural it is. It's virtually impossible to get anything done without a
of
vehicle.
course, yeah.
And I've when I do go, I've started renting cars now more than I used to. And
Mm.
the issue we had before is that even in the town I was in, there was nowhere to rent a car from. You couldn't
Mm.
rent a car from the town unless it was like almost black market kind of thing. So it'd
Yeah,
be like a guy that you have to
just a random
pretend you
guy.
know.
Yeah. Mm.
And I never liked doing that. I never did it before. I wasn't going to do it because I just don't want to give the authorities excuses to give you
Mm.
pain. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So, um, I was going to say, yeah. So like some of the burdens is like, you might need to go to the next town to get some official work done, right?
Mm.
You'd have to actually fight people. I kid you not. I mean, fighting people to get into taxis
Mm.
during rush hour. And I'm not just saying like fight, like you're pushing and shoving, and then you like feel bad that it's like, well, I can either wait here all day or I can fight for my place like everyone
Yeah,
else is.
yeah,
No one's going to queue. No one's waiting.
yeah,
No one's going to get in line. But then you're like, oh, there's an elderly lady
yeah,
who needs a lift.
yeah.
Oh, I step back for her. But if I
Mm.
step back for her, that guy over there isn't going to wait for her. He's
Yeah,
going to take it. And it's anyway. So you
yeah,
get it. So
man.
yes, certain places it's going to be ridiculous without it. And what people do is that they get a loan for the wedding, they get a loan
Mm.
for a car, they get a loan for a house, they get a loan for everything, and suddenly half their wages are
Mm.
going
Paying
towards
off debts. Yeah.
paying off all sorts of debts, and which causes massive strains on the marriage. It causes massive strains on the family. Um, so yeah, so in certain places, to conclude, a car is mandatory. In the UK, the although some public transport is quite expensive, like trains are very expensive, I think,
Mm.
especially between cities, not necessarily within London. Public transport, buses and stuff, availability of taxis and all that is very, very prevalent. However, it shifts a bit when you've got kids. So like you're into the three kids category now, and I'm sure you're
Mm.
feeling the difficulty of like if you want to go out somewhere, the kind of
You just don't
difficulty
go
and
out.
inconvenience of it. You just don't, and you don't want to be like that.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
want to be that guy. Like you might have a spouse or kids that want to go out, and you're kind of like, oh, they want to go out, but do I want to take them out? Like the
yeah,
burden is
exactly.
ridiculous.
And then that's where the
You know?
car it becomes like I can I can now provide that for my family if I pay this 15K
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. I've never not had a car since getting like when I first got married, I had a little hatchback and it was just me and my wife and it worked and it was fine. But I've never had that kind of, oh, we can't go to XYZ place because I haven't got a vehicle. I
Mm.
remember one short period of time I didn't have a car and that kind of crossover was a bit difficult. But now, like, three kids and my wife, I couldn't imagine,
Mm.
even though like I live in an area where um, everything's quite, accessible. I've got supermarkets and stuff, but even getting like a shop done, it's either I'm going to spend every day having to go and get, um, God, spend every day having to get, or save money by going to a more, you know, affordable, but a place where I can get better deals, supermarket, and doing it
Mm.
all in one go, as opposed to picking items from more expensive stores as and when we need it. There's pros and cons to it all, no doubt. But you've definitely, I think, reached that kind of threshold where daddy needs a car.
Yeah, bro. Even it. Most people, I guess, don't. experience this because they either own a car or they don't own a car. But when I was like renting cars with Zipcar, like yeah, every maybe 2-3 weeks, even that pain of taking the car seats, putting them in the car. If you own the car, it's just there permanently, right? But doing that every time is quite long and stuff. But this is the thing. I told you for about maybe a 7, 8, 9, whatever year old car, 5-seater, it's like 15K pounds, let's say.
Yeah.
But now, bro, so 15K is a lot of money, right? But
Really?
when I looked into it and I thought of it, I came to this conclusion myself, but then I checked with ChatGPT as well, and it confirmed my suspicions. You know, the best value car that you can buy, like the age of it or the mileage, do you know what that is?
No.
It's about a 4-year-old car. That is the best value because the first year it depreciates 20%, done, straight away, gone. Yeah. The second year it depreciates like another 20%. So by year 3 of a car being 3 years old, it has lost 45% of its value, right? And that's the steepest. If you imagine it as a curve, like how quickly it depreciates, 45% of the depreciation has happened by year 3. Okay. But a 3-year-old car is still new. It's still very reliable. It's still not going to have issues, right? Especially if you get the right type of car. So the sweet spot is actually to buy like a 3 or 4-year-old car that's done 50 to 90K kilometers.
I think that's exactly what I had. So 2021 is when I bought this, and it was a 2016 car. And I have never had to like have anything major repaired. You know, I've never had to say, "Oh, it's broke down." It's never broken down.
What brand is it?
It's a Hyundai.
Okay.
Hyundai.
Yeah.
I love it. But it's never broke down, and it's never had any issues like that. You know, there's been things here and there, maybe like a tire or something or whatever, but never have I had to like break down. Never has it like just stopped in the street or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's especially if you go, I don't know, my brother, you know, he buys and sells cars for a living. So he's into cars, and he's like, look, the only car to buy, if you just want like 5-seater car, he's like, the only brand to buy is Toyota. I'm like, really? Like, is it that simple? He's like, yes. I'm like, well, then why are all these other people buying other cars? He's like, they just don't know. He's like, this is the truth of the matter, Yadi, that Toyota's just like the most reliable car in the world. Obviously, it's a little bit more expensive because they're known for that, aren't they? They're known to be reliable and stuff. So if you get...
I'm looking at one right now, bro. I'm looking. There's one parked outside. It's like a family friendly. I think it's a Toyota Corolla. Can't read the sign from here.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is what I need. It looks great. It looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a good reputation. What are you kind of? Are you sold on it now? Are you like, I'm gonna get one? Is that?
But that's where I was going with this. So if you go for Toyota Corolla, for example, you're going from 15K to about 17K. The extra 2K is just because it's Toyota and it's like, you know, more reliable and stuff like that. Bit more of a premium car. But then if you go to that range that I talked about, 3-4 years old, now you're going from the 17K to 23K in Turkey.
Right.
Okay. So now we're talking about £23,000 for a 3-year-old car. Okay. Which I checked in the UK, and I believe in the UK you get a brand new one for that much. But you know, it is what it is. And this is the thing that happens in Turkey. Everyone's like, I can't believe it's so expensive. I can't believe it's so expensive. I can't believe it's so expensive. And then they just swallow it and buy one because there's nothing else you can do. You either have a car, you don't have a car. Like you can't get away from these prices, right? The good thing in Turkey though is if you buy a car, especially like a Corolla, it's a bit more premium. It's a bit, you know, it's a reliable brand, this and that. It will hold its value. And over the last few years, people actually made a profit selling their car. Okay. Because of the inflation and all that. Even in pounds or dollars, they made a profit, a small profit, but they made a profit. So the hope is that it would like retain its value a lot, you know, because that's how it is in Turkey. Like they hold their value. So now you've got this dilemma, and this is my dilemma. Do I look, even 17K for a car, a 3 or 4 year old car is like ridiculous when I don't necessarily even need or want it. Like I'm like you, bro. I don't care about cars at all. I care about getting from A to B. if it's got a bit of tech in it that makes my life easier, if it's I don't know, just like functionally better somehow, then I do value that. But I do not value like getting a certain brand, or, you know, like people overpay just to say I've got a BM, or
Yeah.
just to like
Yeah.
put their
Yeah.
keys on the
Exactly.
table
Yeah.
and it's got a Mercedes logo on it. Like, I'm not into that. I'm not bothered.
Dude, honestly, and your needs and outweigh all of that, honestly. Because I remember being like 18 years old,
Uh,
being that age and thinking, oh, I want a Golf, or I want an Audi, or I want whatever, and like just the thought of a like a family car just used to make my skin like, you know,
yeah.
I used to just hate it. And
Yeah.
now, wallahi al-azim, bro, now I'll be literally like driving my wife, and I just be staring at a car. She'll be like, what are you doing? I'm like, need that. I need that ugly van looking thing. It looks like a van, but I need it.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
honestly, and it's not just that, bro. It's like other things that, getting furniture or doing, I don't know, DIY work around the house, or whatever it is. Like the amount of times I've missed out on a decent deal because my car just simply isn't big enough to carry whatever I want. Like I'm trying to sort out. I'm doing a lot of garden work at the moment, and I need a van, man. I could rent one, obviously, but it'd be so much nicer to just have it and use it when I need to. The good thing about the car I've got now is it's an estate, and I can put the seats down, and it's kind of like a van. But at the same time, because I've been treating it like that, it ends up getting really filthy, and I don't clean it as often as I'd like to. Um, but it's so versatile in the sense that, yeah, it's not just about traveling with your family; it's also about utilizing it for God knows whatever other stuff that you need to do, right?
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, so where are you at? Sorry,
So this is my
now you
dilemma,
thinking,
bro. Get a 17K
yeah,
car or a 23K car.
17K. I mean, if it's your first, bro, I think, well, the problem you have, I mean, is that you're in Turkey. You're not necessarily quote unquote home, somewhere where you may stay
Exactly,
forever.
bro. Exactly. That,
Yeah.
bro, if I'm here and I'm like, halas, I'm here, then yeah, like, actually, I don't know if you can ever justify getting a brand new car, but it's fine. Like, you can get it. Like, it makes
Yeah.
more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So,
it's tough. Like,
yeah.
so there's no other alternatives. Like, what about that's the thing with like I was literally looking at this last night about leasing cars, and
Yeah.
immediately it was like this interest and that interest and this down payment, and I was like flipping heck. I thought it was just like renting. Why have I got to pay all
Yeah.
this stuff, and why is there so much interest and whatever? Like I could kind of understand a deposit,
So
right?
leasing has
It's like
interest?
well,
Or maybe
apparently
it has like some sort of penalties for late payments or something like that?
possibly. Yeah, I mean, I just briefly looked at it,
Yeah.
and I started seeing all these numbers with interest. I didn't dig deeper, and it was also way over my budget anyway for what I kind of wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, as far as I understand, leasing is a terrible financial decision. Like, you're basically just renting the car a bit cheaper than if you were like just renting it. So you're not gonna
yeah, and then
you're not gonna own it in the end and stuff like that. You can't like resell it or whatever.
and that's the thing. There's all these like caveats to how much you can drive it and where you can take it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So like even with the 23K car, my hopes is that I could see it as a storing money in the car. So like, okay, in 2-3 years, let's say I want to sell it, I could get 90% of the money back. However, you never know. You might have a car crash and then no, you're not getting that. Maybe you're getting none of it back. Maybe you're getting 80%, 70% of it back. Who knows? So obviously you never know. May Allah protect us. So that's like part of, like, you justify it by saying, it'll hold its value. It's a pretty new car. Also, most of these, I think all of them, maybe they're hybrids. So it's like, it's kind of more premium, holds its value more, etc.
yeah.
So yeah, you try and say like, yeah, I'm just storing my money in the car. I could sell it later, blah, blah, blah. But then on the other hand, it's like, you're not storing money in a car, bro. Like it could get ruined, Yanni. So, but this is the dilemma basically,
Yeah, it's tough,
What
isn't
I'm
it?
trying to
By the way,
do
the
though
car.
is, what I'm trying to do is have
Oh,
good
outside
intentions for
is
this stuff. Is
t-
like, I know, like I already discussed with my family, I could take my kids way more places, my family way more places. We could do more stuff. So that's part
yeah,
of the
yeah.
intention. The other part of it as well is so many times with my friends, like we want to do certain activities, you know, this and that, and we're stopped because of cars. We're like relying on one friend in our circle has a car, and we're just like, if he can do the thing, we'll go. If we can't, we won't, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the other intention is, you know, we could do more activities and stuff like that together because of that. So yeah, and you can help people out when you have a car and stuff like that. So that has to be part of the formula as well, because inshallah we could get
No,
reward
I
for
mean,
this big spend.
if you've got it and you're looking after it, then if you need to sell it, then you can sell it. You know,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be the end of the world. And especially considering the prices over there, despite the fact that you are of the fear that you have the fear that it's going to depreciate in value. It doesn't sound like any car will depreciate in value in the grand scheme of things in Turkey, because they're always going to be expensive. You're still always going to get something back.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be a need for cars there, as opposed to it sitting on the market and nobody, biting. So
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
it'd be
Yeah.
fine.
In a city of
Um,
20 million people, there's always buyers.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was going to say the car that I saw earlier was a Toyota Estima, not a Corolla.
Oh, okay,
Um,
that's like one of them MPVs kind of thing.
yeah, and I'm looking. So the one outside must be around. It's like a 2011, but there's one here 2012. It's about 10,000 to 11,000 pounds, whilst the
Mm,
2017 model is about 25,000, and that's second hand.
right.
Um, well, there's one for 5,000 here, but yeah, it just shows you the stark difference between prices, here and
Yeah.
the global south, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So what's the situation of like taking a car from here over there? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. So what I understand is you can take a car from outside, bring it into Turkey as a foreigner, Yani. You can bring it in. You can drive it for 2 years. You can use it for 2 years.
Oh wow.
After two
Okay.
years, you have to either, import it officially and pay the taxes on it, or you just have to get it out of the country. However, what I have heard is you can only do that when you kind of first enter Turkey. But since I've been here for years, I wouldn't actually be able to do that. Maybe I'll double check that, of course, because it might save me a huge amount of money. But yeah, that's what I
In
always heard.
I think in Tunisia, from what I remember, it's like everybody gets to do it once.
Yeah,
Um, so it might be like that. Like I I can do it, and then maybe I don't know about my wife actually. 'Cause she's not. Well, yeah, maybe she gets to do it once, and then obviously my kids when they're older, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Um,
In
so it might be similar
Algeria,
to that.
in Algeria, they have huge taxes on cars as well. Not as big as Turkey, but really pretty huge. But there's a new rule. I think like a year or two ago, they introduced a rule where if the car is 3 years old or newer, you can bring it in from abroad without paying any taxes on it. There might be a limit on how you could keep it in the country for like 3 years or something like that. So that's like a loophole or something. I guess they did that on purpose for whatever reason. But yeah, I don't think Turkey has anything like that except the one that I just mentioned. So if I'm not eligible for that, then there's not much I can do.
If you got the Turkish made car, what's that saying?
Yeah, the Turkish made car. There's only one model right now because they only started, fulfilling orders a year ago.
Yeah.
Bro, when I
Cheaper?
checked, it's like 50K dollars, so like 40K pounds, 42K pounds, like brand new, obviously.
The rich patriots.
Yeah, I mean, it's a premium car. Firstly, it's electric. Secondly,
Right.
it's a SUV, and it's like that premium thing. It's kind of maybe following the Tesla model where they released the more expensive one first, and then a cheaper one, and cheaper one, and cheaper one. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
read actually recently that they're gonna release the sedan in 2026. So that'll be like the next model they release. Maybe that'll be a bit cheaper. But yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah, it's not like there's less taxes on it or anything.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
There are a lot of
Fair enough.
Teslas over
Fair
here.
enough.
They started fulfilling orders of Teslas a year ago as well. And I just start seeing them everywhere, like a lot of Teslas, very expensive as well. They're like, I mean, they were selling them like not even Model S or anything, Model X, no, the Model Y, the Model 3. They're selling them secondhand for like 2 million lira, which that's 50K, yeah, 50K pounds, I believe. Yeah. So that's secondhand for 50K. So yeah, crazy.
Yeah. They've
That's,
obviously done
there's
their
a lot of
branding
money
quite
in
well, haven't they?
Istanbul, bro. A lot of money.
Yeah.
Like
Sounds like it. Sounds
you
like
just
it.
walk the streets and you're like, whoa. Obviously, there's a huge like credit culture as well. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, we need to find a solution for you. We need to make like a nail in the coffin blow to make a decision.
Mm,
But to be honest, I mean, I'll be honest with you.
yeah.
Your needs for it don't sound very convincing.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think. Like, it's just your family, so you haven't got any other families to kind of drive up and see, or help. For example, like
Mm,
I go to my mum's quite often, and
yeah.
I always need a car to be able to go to my mum's quite quickly, or take my whole family there, or if she needs anything done, then I have to
Yeah.
drive over there and help her and stuff.
Yeah.
I've got my own family, and then I've got my in-laws in London, which once again, having a car to drive and see them, and then my in-laws in London also, my wife's aunties and uncles, whatever, they're across London, so I'll have to
Yeah.
drive across, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Having kids and trying to get there and during tube times and trying to get the mapping and all that and whatever is ridiculous. My sister's also in London as well, in the other side of London. So anyway, London, London, London. But there's a lot of traveling involved, right?
Mm,
So that's one big major thing. I don't think you've got that there.
yeah.
Right now, it sounds like it's mainly leisure and social. Your shopping is kind of taken care of. Like, will your shopping routine change a lot? Would you would you
Mm,
benefit more, or does it seem to kind of be going well
yeah.
now the way it
Yeah,
is?
it is pretty much going well now. I think it's definitely, yeah, it's definitely a luxury. It's definitely like it would be nice situation.
Mm.
Maybe my wife would say otherwise, but
No, yeah,
I think it's that kind of thing where, yeah, it would be nice if I could take the family certain places. It would be nice if we
right,
could go, because literally like 10, 15 minutes drive from here is countryside where you could go to farms. Maybe you could get better kind of food, better quality food, cheaper food, that
right.
kind of thing. So, but these are all nice to haves. They're not essential. So nothing really is essential. It's
And
just, yeah.
so Zipcar's gone, and there's no alternatives. There's no other rentals, even local
There's one
ones. Must
alternative,
be.
but they only allow Turkish citizens to use it.
So there's got to be more, bro. If I was to go to Istanbul, I want to rent a car.
Oh
Even
no,
on
of
the
course
airport
you.
website, it'll be
Yeah,
on there.
bro. There's tons of renter cars. There's tons of renter cars, but
Yeah, yeah.
there's not tons of Zipcar style, which is literally book it on an app for a few hours
Ah,
or very flexible, no paperwork needed, that kind of thing. Even some of these car rental places, they have 3-day minimums.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So
Interesting. And I wonder what the costs are there versus,
yeah, it's quite
for,
expensive, but obviously it's cheaper than buying a car, in it.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's probably like $30 a day plus,
Okay, that
like
makes
25
sense.
pounds a day plus. Yeah.
That makes sense. And I
That,
suppose
but
it's a bit
I
more of a
just
fast every time.
like imagine you need to buy clothes for your kids. Yeah. So you could take the whole family on the metro to the mall to buy the clothes, which takes like, let's say, somehow on
Yeah,
Google Maps it says 30 minutes, but when it's the whole
no,
family, it takes an hour. Yeah.
yeah, 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 of
So
course,
you
yeah.
could do that. Yeah, you could do that. Or if you have a car, it's literally a 15-minute drive kind of thing. Uh, so yeah, it's definitely a luxury. But when you compound these things over time, like if I think of my kids growing up with a car and without a car, the type of things they would have access to, it would be quite different. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a luxury, but maybe it's a justified luxury. Who knows?
Well, if someone guilt trips you about your family, then that kind of makes a man pull a trigger. That happened to me actually. I remember I had an Astra and it was like falling apart, and there was like a water leak in the back in the boot.
Hmm.
But it was, doing its thing.
Yeah.
The air conditioning stopped working or whatever.
Hmm.
And my friend came down to visit, and we were in the car, and I was driving it. And then he looks at me and goes, you should really get yourself a car, for your family." And when he said for your family, he was like stabbing me in the heart. Is that when he
The,
said that? I was
the
like,
dagger was in and he just like twisted it.
yeah, 'cause, like for me, I don't care. Like, if it works, it works. Like, if I can't afford it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then because he said that,
Hmm.
really pulled the trigger, and it wasn't long later until I
Yeah.
remember getting rid of that, getting it
Yeah.
scrapped,
I think
and getting this one.
the issue, bro, the whole issue. is that it's just insanely expensive, specifically here.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
obviously,
Yeah,
like in UAE before I came here, I had a car, but it was £3,000, not £23,000.
that's crazy.
You
That
know,
is crazy. That
so
is crazy.
yeah,
But because you're not, this is the same issue I had in Tunisia, but at least there, like, if I'm going to get a car, I'm going to be there with it. Now that I'm going back and forth, it's like, oh, I don't want to get one because who's going to, it's just going to sit there and get rusty. Um, and, but I think that you have to look at your next 5 years, inshallah, and see. I think if you're going to spend the next 5 years in Turkey, and that's kind of what you're thinking, I think it's worth it,
yeah, yeah.
possibly. Um, I don't know. What was the price range you were saying? 20.
23 pretty much for that newer one. For that,
Oh, no. Well, ew.
in some
Oh, God.
countries, maybe in your village in Tunisia, you could buy a house for that. Is that possible?
Probably. Probably. God, that's a lot.
No,
I
but
say
this
I
this
wouldn't
is
want
not
to
the
spend more than
cheapest,
10.
bro. Obviously, it's not the cheapest, but that's what I was saying. An interesting part of this research is that there is an undoubtable sweet spot for the price to buy a car,
Yeah, of
where
course. Of
it's
course.
going to be reliable and it's already depreciated a lot, and that sweet spot happens to be 23k. It happens to cost 23k. If you want, you could get one for 13k, but it's just going to be older. It's going to be maybe harder to sell it or won't hold its value as
I
much
don't
or blah
know,
blah
man.
blah.
I think
So
take the risk and go lower, man.
you
Like
think
we had
so,
a
yeah?
car from like the 90s. Obviously, this was years ago now, but at the
Yeah.
time it seemed ancient, and it was
Yeah.
Japanese Mazda 4x4, and it was just amazing for its time. Like it had stuff on it that didn't um you didn't think the 90s had, right? Um, but it just I don't remember ever. It's my dad's family car. Like we all used it and stuff, and we went to Tunisia in it, and I think we went to Morocco in it as well. Um, yeah, it was just great. It was great. So like, I think more so I think that algorithm that you've been given there is going to be generally across car boards, but you're going to find outliers where it comes to different
Yes.
brands. Like you said, Toyota, for example, generally
Yeah.
have a good reputation.
Yeah.
A lot of Japanese cars have a good reputation for reliability. So if you were to get an older car, cheaper, but maybe one of those kind of well-known, reliable brands, I think that's kind of what you need to do, because the risk of dumping that kind of money on, you know, on a vehicle and really kind of it's that impulse thing, isn't it? Of like impulse purchase, the run up, the anticipation, maybe the first few moments after buying it are very nice, and then like a couple of days later, you're feeling the gap,
You're
you're
looking at
feeling the
your bank
hole.
account.
Yeah, and it's on to the next thing. And that's the nature of just life and families in general. You've achieved one thing, and then it's the next thing that becomes the focal point.
Yeah.
And that will
Yeah.
be it. Something else will come up.
Yeah.
So
I think it's
I
really
think it's,
nice when you delay, how do you say it? Delay your desires. And,
mm,
some things technically, you could buy it today, but you wait 2 years, 3 years, obviously with reason. You wait, and then when you buy it, you actually can appreciate it more. But there are
yeah.
some people I know that are very much like, I want it, I buy it. As long as I can just about afford it, I'll just buy it. And I feel like those people will, enjoy these pleasures less.
Yeah. Yeah. And it depends on your family dynamic as well, and how much of a I don't know what the word is, but like a gripping kind of need or desire for it is across the family, not just for yourself. You know,
Yeah.
it could be your kids like desperately want one, for example. I don't know, your kid's quite young, but generally for any other parent, it could be the kids desperately want one. It could be the wife really wants one. It could be stuff like that. And it's like, how much of that is weighing on you versus you weighing on yourself? Um, and you got to weigh that up as well. Um, but I think I think we're going to explore. You're going to have to explore what we said. Like, look at something older. I wouldn't personally pay more than 10,000. It just seems maybe pushing it. It depends on you, obviously, and what your finances are. But
Yeah.
yeah, 15 maybe is a good push. But 25 just seems like, dude,
Nuts. No.
Not for somewhere where you're not living like permanently or haven't got
Yeah.
citizenship or whatever it is. It's just such a risky thing for my mind to comprehend.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of dumping cash, I've been going and getting into crypto recently.
Oh yeah, you mentioned very unlike you, really, for someone who is very
Yeah.
concerned with with what you said earlier in
I'm
terms of
usually a
everything you want
slow
to
and
invest
steady
in.
kind of guy. But
Yeah, man, that
now I'm
isn't
looking
something
for
I've
those
explored. But go on,
20Xs.
tell me your story.
I mean, I think do you still own crypto? Any crypto, or you sold it all, or
I got nothing, man. I
nothing?
got
When did
nothing.
you
I'm a
sell?
I'm hand to mouth kind of guy, living life on the edge. No, I don't know. I don't know. God, it must be years ago. As with everything, something comes around which necessitates me spending money, and I spend the money. So, um,
I think you sold
sorry,
maybe
your word.
2017ish.
Oh no! It was way after that. I don't.
Oh, after that, okay.
2017. 2017 is when I got married. I don't even think there was crypto then.
Oh, okay. I mean, there
2016 I got
was,
married,
but
but
yeah.
I don't know. I recall. No.
Okay.
I think I sold like in 2022
Oh, yes.
or something.
Okay. Maybe I sold like a year before you or something like that. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
bought crypto, yeah, around, yeah, maybe like 2018. Maybe I bought it in 2018, sold it in 2019, something like that. Um, I think I put about £1,000 into it, and then when I sold it, it was worth £4,000. So that was nice, but I sold because I thought it was haram. And it wasn't like I thought it was haram because I fully understood it. It was just like Sheikh Haytham said, his ruling that from what he understands, is haram. So I was like, okay, that's the only guy who was talking about it that I know and trust back
Right.
then. So I just followed that, because as soon as that doubt is introduced, if you can't find a suitable other opinion or other reasoning for it not to be haram, then you kind of just got to follow that.
Right.
So about 6 months ago, I started thinking, well, it's been a good few years since then. Let's see if there are other people have published their opinions. Funnily enough, like Islam QA still has no published opinion on this.
All right.
They said, it still needs clarification, it still needs looking into it and stuff like that. But basically, yeah, I looked into it more, and I kind of got convinced of the other opinion through, let me think. I mean, a good friend of mine, he's also looking into it. He's also very careful with where he puts his money. He has good knowledge of the Sharia as well. And he pointed me towards what's his name? Muawiyah Tucker's series.
I spoke to him earlier. I speak to him like every day. I just realized
Hmm.
I should get him on
About
the
what?
podcast to give you just other things, general
Yeah, yeah,
things, but
yeah.
never really. He's always talking about Bitcoin and stuff, but because I haven't
Yeah.
got any, I don't really take interest in
Right,
it.
right,
But
right.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
always thinking of bringing him on here to have a chat about it.
So he's not just like, I don't know what his like level of kind of studies or whatever is, but he is always promoting Bitcoin. So he's not even just saying it's mubah. He's like saying, no, it's good. Like we should be getting into it, innit? And so he's got a
Yeah.
series where all the reasons that people were saying it's haram, he kind of debunks that, right? So
Right.
that was one of the resources I went through, as well as just going back and forth with my friend. Like I think the best thing with these things is like to go back and forth and play like devil's advocate with your opinion, their opinion, this and that. And yeah, I pretty much got convinced of that. Now there are like a lot of details to it though, right? Like overall, you could say cryptocurrencies overall can be halal, but now is it halal to buy and sell with it, using it? Is it halal to invest with the actual intention of making money from it? And then there are like thousands of coins. So which ones are okay? Which ones are not okay? So there's a lot of details to it, 100%.
Yeah.
Where I kind of settled is I would have, if it wasn't kind of too late, or what it looks like to be pretty late in the day with Bitcoin, I probably would have just put money into Bitcoin and left it at that. Because Bitcoin is the least, what's the word? Volatile, or one of the least volatile. And it's just solid, you know what I mean? It's got like that kind of use case behind it. But Bitcoin's at $70K, man. So who knows where it's going to go from there? Obviously, it could reach 1 million, as a lot of people say, but you never know.
Yeah.
So I was looking for something that would give me a bit, like with Bitcoin at 70K. Like, what could you hope for? You could hope for like it to double in the next year. I don't know about more than that. I'm not an expert in this stuff. So I've been going into coins that are related to AI. AI related coins where the project, like, it has to be a legit project that's supposed to be bringing some legit use case, legit value. Like, for example, decentralized GPU processing, which is what, like, a lot of the large language models, they use that as processing power. So that kind of thing, you know, like these NVIDIA GPUs that people like, I don't know, Facebook, AWS, Microsoft, Azure, they have loads of these in their server farms, and they're running them. So it's like a decentralized version of that, for example. I think Avalanche that's an example of a coin that's supposed to be doing that. So I kind of invest in these because these can give you a 10, 20, 30, 50x return. And they're also, it's not like gambling, because it's like they're legit businesses behind it, where they have a legit project. Now, can I look into it and be like, yes, this is definitely legit? Like, the claim versus the reality of the project, I'm not, I'm not, expert enough to tell that. But that's kind of where I am these days. And bro, frankly, that's the only investment vehicle I've been able to find, bro. Like, apart from real estate, which requires like 100K, you have to save up 100K and just drop that onto one property. With this, you could literally put £100 into 10 different coins. You know, it's a much lower ceiling to get into it. So that's where I am, bro. I put money into a few different AI coins. Anything other than AI coins? I don't think so at this point. I mean, the way I heard about AI coins is from someone that I've been following from probably 10 years ago. Now, he wasn't talking about crypto back then, but now he is. And, you know, so I kind of know him and trust him to an extent. So he was talking about gaming coins and AI coins. The gaming coins are full of like gambling stuff and just like stupid use cases sometimes.
Yeah.
But the AI ones like seems more, you know, halal and legit. So that's where I am. Yeah, and it's probably, I'm looking for a semi-quick return, but at the same time, I'm not like in a hurry to sell. But I am expecting to get some returns out of this in the next 6 months. So I'll let you know when I've lost all my money, I guess.
It's the interesting thing about it, though. Like, when you listen to Muawiyah's videos, he is obviously way more passionate about the permanent use case, not necessarily the getting rich or investment. He's holding, and he believes that this is the currency of the future, as opposed to, you know,
an investment vehicle.
He wants it to replace. He wants it to replace fiat essentially.
Yeah.
And that you know, that whole discussion, I watched a lot of his videos, and that side of it really interests me.
Yeah.
But because I know, you know, Bitcoin as an investment opportunity, as you said, it makes a lot of sense to me. Because it is I guess the most dominant one. For that reason. But at the same time, like, I've spoken to a lot of people who have shared with me your sort of similar interest in whatever field it may be. It might not be the AI coins, but there's been other ones. There's like a lot of meme coins and stuff. Like, I remember a family member of mine sent me a screenshot of their like wallet, and it was a lot of money, but it was like really random stuff, like PS1 Hagrid from Harry Potter, the PlayStation 1 game. There was like a coin about that, like other random meme coins and Shiba Inus and all this stuff. Like, wow, this.
But those are the kind of coins where you have to be very careful in the halal and haram side, because it's like, for example, maybe a good chunk of the volume that's going through those coins is purely manipulating the market. And so if the market is being manipulated like that, is it halal? Is it still halal? And secondly, is it halal if, why are you buying it? Like, it's kind of, what's the difference between that and gambling? This was something that I started looking into, like, what is the Shari definition of gambling? And it was not that clear to me, you know. What's the difference between buying a meme coin and betting on a horse? Allahu
Mm.
alam, I still couldn't tell you, right? It wasn't even that obvious to me what the difference is between gambling and investing in a company even. Like, I know there is a difference, but I can't articulate it, you know. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting, but you just got to be very careful with this stuff. So that's why I didn't like put anything into like meme coins and stuff, because I just wanted to avoid that gambling aspect or the manipulation stuff.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? And that's another thing. Like, at least I know you've got your reservations about stock market and investing in stocks and stuff,
Yeah,
but you know that they're very much linked to actual companies that you can explore. You
yeah,
can either
yeah. They're
believe
actually
in, you can
selling products,
research.
and yeah,
Some of them you can even visit. You can go and step into the store and have a look. Whilst
yeah,
a lot of this stuff, like, okay, look at the AI ones, the coins, for
yeah,
example, like project probably only exists on the internet and you can't necessarily experience it or know too much about it or in
yeah,
depth
yeah,
or walk around it, have a look at the servers, tap them and see if they
yeah.
they
Unless
are
maybe you're
legit.
very like technical. Yeah,
Yeah. And like if you're not familiar with that language or that arena, then you're kind of just taking everyone's word for it.
yeah,
Or and then getting sucked into the hype train is also very, very prevalent, isn't it?
yeah.
A hype that generally gets initiated by the people that want you to. I mean, you
Hmm.
hear all these. I watch CoffeeZilla sometimes, and I see all these like rug pulls and all these big scams. I'm not saying it's happening to you, but
Bro,
I'm
you're a
just.
CoffeeZilla type of guy, bro.
Yeah, bro, that guy's good, man. That guy's good. Sometimes his stuff crosses over into our community. I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
Muslim, but I can't remember what it was. There was a few things, um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's dangerous. It's just never really appealed to me because I'm so cautious with this sort of stuff. Um, but more power to you, bro. Keep us.
Inshallah,
We'll
bro.
do a
Only
little
invest money that you
eh,
can, you're willing to lose.
or to lose, yeah, or spend on a car, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy,
There's
man. It's
that too.
crazy. It's crazy.
Oh man. Wow. This has been a bro code episode, isn't it?
Hmm.
Car coins.
Hmm. Cars and coins. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Sorry to all the sisters that aren't interested.
Yeah. It's Eid. It's Eid coming up. Do you have any plans?
So I live close to where they pray Eid in the park.
Mm-hmm.
So this time I might actually walk there, which just removes the entire headache of like parking and all of that.
Yeah.
And it's on a weekend, which is
Mm-hmm.
great.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to worry about work and all of that. I've been getting the barbecue out. I've been doing barbecues. So maybe I'll do
Okay.
another one.
Okay.
I did a meat-based barbecue the other day. Got all the
Hmm.
family around.
Hmm.
Went very well.
Hmm.
Very, very well. So very impressed. Then
Inshallah.
a couple of days ago we did a fish-based barbecue. So I bought some fish. Basically ran the show, bro. Got
Hmm.
fish, marinated, did the thing, lit
Hmm.
the barbecue. Got
Which
my
fish?
wife, got my mum, got my sister. Sea bream this
Oh,
time.
yes. That's the right one.
Yeah,
Approved.
that's the correct answer.
Is
I got some sea bream.
that
How did it
local?
go?
Yeah. Did they? Is that like from the Atlantic or whatever?
From the English Channel. Yeah, all of it is all the fish
Okay,
here is
cool. Because
local. I
they have
wouldn't
that here as well,
fresh.
and I usually buy that when I buy fish.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted sea bass, but the bass not fillets, I actually got whole fish, but the ones they had at the fishmongers was a little bit on the smaller side.
Hmm.
Um, Plus, if you really, really want to have a good time with a barbecued fish roast, red
Hmm.
mullet is the one. Red
Hmm.
mullet. There wasn't any, but that's the one you want. Oh, I don't know how good it tastes here compared to Tunisia, but in Tunisia, it's amazing.
What's it
Mashallah.
called, bro, in Tunisia?
Red mullet.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Good question. I don't know. It's got a name.
Okay.
I'm sure I remember it
Is it
if I
because
was
is it
there.
like a white fish, or is it like a fattier kind of tuna slash salmon kind of fish?
Nah, it's a white fish. It looks
Okay.
like
Ah, yes. Don't you call it a
red.
rougi?
Possibly.
In
Possibly.
Algeria, Morocco, they call it rougi, which is like means red, you know. Bro, that's the best fish. That's the best fish.
It's the best fish.
I just don't have it over here. But yeah, in Algeria, I've had that quite a few times. When I went to Morocco recently, I went to a seafood place, loaded up on
Absolutely, bro. Bro, even in Tunisia, they've even got it on stamps, apparently.
it.
That's
it's
how good it is.
it's literally like sweet even.
Oh, bro, it's amazing. It's amazing. And it's so nice when it's barbecued. It's so nice. In
Mm,
fact, you're getting me excited. I might jump in the car and grab some of this today, if there is
mm.
any. I might go to the fishmongers and see if they got some because I just love fish, man. I don't get to have it. I'm by the coast and stuff, and I wish I could have it more. I just don't. Uh,
You got any Udhiyah
I do
plans?
like.
Any slaughtering
Oh
happening?
no, no, not
Just
not
slaughtering
here. I
fish.
mean, yeah. Every year I tend to do the. I will essentially send money to the XYZ charity that will do it
Mm,
abroad.
yeah.
Um, but obviously we can't really do it here. My mum was telling me
You
stories the other
can
day
though,
about
no?
like, well, I suppose yeah, you could go to farms and stuff. I've never really explored that. Never explored
You
that.
should, bro.
But
There's
I
still
think
time.
it's too much. It's too much
You
effort.
got a car, bro. I don't even have a car.
It's too much effort, man. It's too much effort.
No, bro. Think
And
about your kids. Let's think of the experience.
well, I've done it in Tunisia a few times. When I'm there, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But to do it here, just
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I'll look into it next year. It's a bit
Hmm.
late for now.
Bro, can you imagine,
Um,
you know how much a sheep is over here? It's insane. I'm pretty sure in the UK, it might be around £200 for a small sheep. Okay.
yeah.
Over here, bro, it's about £400. Can you imagine? It's insane.
I my North African algorithms are like showing me people complaining about the prices as well in Tunisia and Morocco. There was even like
Yeah.
I didn't click on it, but there was a Tunisian news site that was posting a fatwa from a sheikh there
Yeah.
about like taking out loans to buy udhiyah,
Oh, wow.
which it's interesting because people clearly can't afford it,
Hmm.
but at the same time, due to the pressure of what people will say, they're thinking getting that loan. So they would engage in haram to perform what should be a religious, you know,
Worship, yani, basically.
worship for fi sabilillah, only to appease people's opinions, as opposed to saying, "No, I couldn't do it this year because I couldn't afford it."
Yeah. That's quite deep when you think of the ikhlas element, the sincerity element, and who you're
But
doing
yeah,
it
like,
for and all that.
would you do that for Hajj? Like, would you
Mm.
take out an
Mm.
interest-based loan to go to Hajj? Most people wouldn't. People saved all their lives in the Muslim world in North Africa for that reason.
Yeah.
But there's an understanding that not everyone goes to Hajj and not everyone can afford, but everyone can get
Mm.
udhiyah, everyone can get a sheep, right? Oh,
Yeah.
well, not anymore.
Mm. I think
Or
in a
no
lot of
one.
Muslim countries, there's, price gouging or whatever it's called, exploitation of the fact that people want to slaughter specifically all in the same like week. People are coming and buying
Yeah.
sheep. And that's why, some people, they buy it early so they get it cheaper and then they like keep it on their balcony or whatever in their garden. But yeah, in Turkey, I think, you know what it is, bro? I think in the Hanafi madhab, it is wajib to do udhiyah if you're above the nisab, like the zakah level. So if you would be have to pay zakat al-mal, then you also have to do udhiyah. And so maybe that's part of the crazy price here is that I noticed, bro, like everyone is on udhiyah here, and they especially do cows. A cow has
Oh,
seven
wow.
shares
Okay.
in it. So they're very big on cows and they're very big on udhiyah. It's funny, like the day of Eid, you'll go around and you'll just see these pickup trucks with like 15 cow heads on it. Just the heads. I'm not sure what they do with that. Maybe they use it for leather or something. I don't know. But
You don't eat it?
the
Surely eat it,
head,
bro.
I don't know about eating the head of a cow. I'm not sure.
Seen cow
Um,
tongue. They
yeah, I don't
sell
know.
heads in Tunis, so they must do something with it.
I mean, in Algeria, they do it with the sheep. Yes, they have the bouzoulouf, if you know that.
Mm.
Yeah. But but yeah, they're very into it, and they've got that whole it's wajib thing, and so you can imagine like the price are just nuts, and people kind of maybe they're less price sensitive because of that. Whereas in other madhahib in other countries, it's kind of more understood that you don't absolutely have to do it, but still people exploit the situation. And that's why maybe
Yeah,
in the UK it's not as expensive relatively to the income as well.
yeah. But I recall this. So when I was last in Tunisia, everyone was saying, "Oh, it's going to be cheap this year. It's going to be cheap,"
Hmm.
because the rains continued for a lot longer than normal, meaning there's a lot more grass available to feed the sheep, meaning they
Hmm.
don't have to purchase,
Hmm. Feed. Hmm.
food feed for the sheep,
Hmm.
which should lower the price extensively. But I
Yeah.
don't think that's necessarily translated.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I don't know for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean,
But it's
when
definitely
you,
Morocco. Like, I see a lot of stuff, a lot of like memes and posts from Morocco that are complaining about the prices. So it could be
hmm.
different there.
Yeah, when you go to these charity websites, it's shockingly cheap in certain countries. Like, I guess
Yeah, yeah,
they what's it called? They negotiate like lower prices and stuff. But if I just go to like one ummah, for example, you can do udhiyah for £25, bro, in
mm,
India. In India, £25. I'm guessing that's like a goat, maybe like a small goat or something. Then you've got Afghanistan, Niger, Pakistan, Somalia, Uganda, Kenya, Sierra Leone, Sudan, etc. £70, still pretty cheap. And then you get into more like I guess a normal category. I don't know, more like similar to UK, which is
yeah,
£125 in Syria, Turkey, Yemen, Bangladesh, Burma. But you see, like this, they're saying Turkey here, right? That's like the charity price. But if you want to go and buy it for yourself to consume in Turkey and all that, you don't really find those prices. And then I heard in Gaza, if you want to do it in Gaza, firstly, there aren't hardly any sheep available, but the price has reached $1,000, like £800 or something. So even if you wanted to specifically give to Gaza, like it's tough.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah,
It's
it
tough.
sounds like going through, could be wrong, but going through the UN sort of programs that they have is
Mm.
probably the most reliable in terms of getting any charity in there whatsoever.
Mm.
I used to use I don't know if I've still got it. It's like Share the Meal. It's called. I think it's like um, backed by the World Food Program, etc. Like the UN based sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've used that typically before because I just feel like that's going to be probably the most reliable. I know people have their reservations about those kind of organizations and stuff, but times of crisis, you
Yeah,
kind of
like
need to.
sometimes it's a matter of whether it's getting in or not, in it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Definitely.
Um,
Actually, speaking of crypto, that people are taking donations through crypto, like literally send because
yeah,
like to get money into Gaza and stuff. So that has been an interesting like actual use case of crypto where you can get around all the whatever it's called sanctions or whatever banking issues and
yeah,
get it straight into Gaza. However, I heard that there are people that have these like USDT wallets. They're taking money. They have like a central wallet, and then from that wallet, they will distribute the money to whoever the money was supposed to go to. But they take like a huge cut, bro, like 10%, 20%. I can't remember the number, but it was around that much. So, if you want to send money to someone, send £100, then they're only going to receive 90 or £80 of that. And then they're
right,
going to go and use that to buy overpriced food over there or whatever. So it's kind of
yeah,
mad, but this is the reality of war and colonization, etc.
yeah, yeah. Allah.
But that is cool, bro. That is cool if you think about it. Like, you literally can go around all these like rules and systems and whatever and just like send USDT from one wallet to another.
That's it, bro. That's it. That's it. That's the future, baby.
Bull market.
Maybe it'd be. I haven't been following it for a while. I need to brush up my knowledge with the wow, yeah. See where things are at the moment. When my algorithm was definitely in tune with that kind of stuff, it felt
Hmm.
like something new was happening every day. But
Yeah.
now that my algorithm's fallen off, it's like, oh, has everything died? Well, no, it probably hasn't. It's just I'm not getting shown all of it, you know.
Yeah. 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 All right, bro. Should we wrap up here?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to talk about
Go on.
the Apple keynote. They're going to put AI into the new iPhones,
Okay. Okay.
but
I saw that.
I'm not. Yeah, I think it's just essentially integrating ChatGPT in many ways into the.
Hmm.
I think
I watched
I've
it,
got
and
one that does it.
some of it is like some of it is not ChatGPT. It's their own stuff, and they were even saying that they do the processing on the phone, which
Yeah, yeah,
ChatGPT is
yeah.
very much reliant on the internet. So they're doing it on
It's
the
all.
phone, taking advantage of the chips and stuff they've been designing themselves, and some of it they do it on Apple servers.
Yeah.
So for privacy, blah 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 reason. Like you know what this whole Apple privacy thing, yeah. Like they talk about it so much, and it's like one of their main, selling points or like unique selling points. But I feel like who knows? Maybe like in 10 years' time, we're gonna find it was all a lie.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I was thinking about this earlier because I was listening to a review of the keynote uh, on my little walk earlier, and yeah, there was some people that were criticizing it, but like at the same time, I don't want to say I trust them.
Hmm.
It's like it'd be very strange to have all of that big
Yes.
talk about privacy and then
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
most,
Yeah.
more than most.
A
Like I
huge amount.
noticeably see a difference between using Safari and using any other browser because I even get a notification saying, "Oh, your thing is now encrypted" or whatever, and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, like some people's privacy concerns are quite excessive. It's like, hey, you're better off just not using the internet if you're really that
Hmm.
worried.
Yeah.
Um, like, go read a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. Like logically, if they're making such huge claims, if they don't back that, I mean, imagine it comes out that all the privacy stuff is fake. Yeah. Like they would probably lose, I don't know, ten
They lose
percent
everything.
of their value straight away. No, I like you. In theory, they'll lose everything, but in reality, people are not
No, they won't.
that
Yeah,
bothered.
people don't care. No, I think the only people that care that much about privacy are like a vocal minority online.
Yeah,
Generally speaking,
and like the
what?
EU lawmakers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and people that are dealing with sensitive work, like charity
Mm.
organizations or what's the
Mm.
word? I
Leaking
don't know, rights
info and blah blah
activists
blah.
or
Yeah,
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 that kind of thing, like political activists and stuff. Other than that, like the average Joe, they don't have
yeah,
much to hide anyway, and they don't want their personal photos leaking on the internet. That's all they care about.
yeah, yeah,
That's all
yeah,
they
yeah,
care about, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
They don't want their photos and the
yeah.
messages going off on the
So
internet.
that means they could be lying about this and they would get away with it. That I see what you mean.
I don't know.
Like it's probably Annie real and true.
But
Yeah.
ultimately, I'm quite excited for it. However, I'll tell you something that happened yesterday that reminds me of something
Go
on
on.
the AI topic. Um, so at my job, we were like, we're hiring someone new, right? So I had to go spend all day yesterday going through like 20 applications or whatever. And they're all, hit and miss. Some of them are good, some of them are not. And then we get this one application, bro. And
Hmm.
it's like they put their job history. So they've got like business analyst, IT, this, business, that. And then when it comes to like the specific questions for this job, which they haven't indicated anywhere in their history that they've done this, they are writing like the most perfect answers. And my boss was with me going through it. The first question was like, oh, okay, give him 5 out of 5 for that. That was very good, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't make sense. They're saying they used to work in this field, but they don't work in this field. They never mentioned that they worked in this field before.
Hmm.
Then we get into question two. Once again, it's like a big fat answer and it's all like hitting all the points. And I was like, all right, listen, slow down. And I mentioned AI. And he goes, oh, let's put it through an AI detector. I was
Hmm.
like, I don't trust those detectors personally because I don't know how good they are. They could just be telling me anything's AI. I don't really know.
Hmm.
So I basically I thought, let me actually see if I can do this. So I pulled out ChatGPT and I copied our entire job advert, like just Control A, Control
Hmm.
C, the whole
Job
thing,
description. Yeah.
threw it in there. Didn't care how it was formatted because it was all in tables and stuff. I just thought, forget it. I don't care how it's formatted. I'm sure the AI could figure this out. I said, I think the prompt was like, hey, just remember this thing. I'm going to ask you some questions about it. They took it. Yep, sweet, remembered.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I'm going to ask you questions. And if you're a candidate for this position, you give me the best answer you can give.
Yeah.
Sweet, ready.
Yeah.
Asked question one, gave me a very good answer because it's using the job specification that we've already advertised as a base of knowledge, right? And then obviously general knowledge about the field anyway.
Mm.
And it was just churning them out,
But it
churning them
wasn't
out.
answering it specific to like you, right? It was just giving the best answer generally.
Yeah. But I could also, I'm sure I could feed it my own CV
Yeah,
as
yeah, of
well. So I
course.
could feed it, yeah, I could feed it my job, the job
And
that
then it
I'm
would be
after.
more convincing.
Yeah. Feed it my CV,
Yeah,
say, hey, and if this sounded a bit too formal, I could say make that a bit more casual or make that.
yeah,
And now I wouldn't have cared so much. I mean, I probably would have cared a bit, but not as much if they actually had that history that they could evidence in their CV. But this is somebody like, hypothetically, it could be you applying for an oil rig. You know what I mean? Like you've never had
yeah,
that kind of experience,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
suddenly all the answers you're giving are like, oh yes, during my history as an oil rig operator,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
and interestingly, my boss didn't know, didn't really think about it until I mentioned it, and then when I spoke to HR about it, they didn't have any prior like.
policy for
I
it.
was like, this, yeah, exactly. I was like, this is quite new, I'm sure. What's your policy on all this stuff? Like, do I still have to interview them? And they were like, oh, we don't know. Like, it just shows you how behind certain, industries or
Yeah,
organizations are with this
yeah,
stuff. Um, and now I must commend the individual. Yes, fair enough. You're kind of finding the shortest way into this. Like, but if I give you a task, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to do it or are you going to just find a way
yeah.
around doing it?
Exactly.
Um,
I had this experience now as well. Like I'm hiring someone, and I usually just hire on Upwork. Okay, that's like what I've got most experience in hiring on. But I also shout out to Kaya. I also thought I'll try muslimjobs.io. So I put the job up
yeah,
there, and on Upwork, it's very clear how you apply, right? You click apply, and then I put the screening questions, and then you answer the screening questions, and you could put a cover letter if you want as well. And then I can see your profile, I can see your previous work history on Upwork and all of that. So I know how to like filter with that. With muslimjobs.io, it was like I didn't really realize how it would work, and I just started getting like all these applications, and they just applied the best way they know. So they just gave me like a cover letter, most of them. Some just threw the CV at me. And I noticed, bro, at least 50% were using ChatGPT for the cover letter. And I'm like quite good at detecting what is ChatGPT and not. Especially
right.
if you ask it to just write a cover letter for you, it will always use a similar format, right? So the
Yeah,
first line will be how you're excited about the job. The second line will always start with my experience in this, as well as my this and that,
yeah.
I
There's a
think I'm a
formula.
great candidate, blah, blah, blah. So when I see people, like when I saw a lot of that, I was like, okay, so what's their thought process with this? They've seen the job. They're just on that mode of like, let me apply for most jobs possible quickly. So they've thrown the CV at me. They've thrown the job description into ChatGPT and then copy pasted that. So now I actually can't judge this person because
Yeah, yeah.
the cover letter is not written by them. They haven't even edited it to a level where I know it's factual and true. And then the CV doesn't tell me much either. Okay, you worked for 2 years in this place, like, so what? So those kind of people, I ended up just like not even going any further with them.
Yeah,
So maybe they feel like, they're able to apply for a lot of jobs, right? But with, you have to know how to use AI better, basically. You,
exactly.
you should
There's a middle
use,
ground.
yeah, like you could use it to write you one paragraph at a time. You could do that way. You could tell it like, okay, this is the job description. Give me the structure of my cover letter and give me bullet points of what to include in each paragraph. And then I'll write the paragraphs myself.
Yeah,
Or you could say, write me the cover letter, but then you heavily edit it. So it's factual and it
yeah.
sounds normal.
It reminds me of like writing essays at school. Like the hardest thing I would find is like starting it
Oh,
and finishing it. Like how would
oh,
I start it? How would I finish it? But doing this, you could get a structure. Okay, sweet. There's some ideas on how I could start this. Like as long as it's based on your experience, right? So it should be based on your experience, based on your history that you've
yeah.
already inputted into the system. Write me something. Okay, it's written it. Right, now I can change it. Or write one yourself and brush up on, grammar, brush up on readability, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Because not everyone unless you're applying for a role that requires that kind of level of communication, not every role requires, you to be an author
Good at writing.
and
Yeah.
write some gripping narrative, right? Um, and I think that's also fair, isn't it? Because you could be applying for, I don't know, I don't know, let's say street cleaning, for example. You're not going to necessarily need to write reports and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
but you're going to be competing with people that have these tools available.
Yeah.
So it's out there now, and you kind of have to
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like,
lazily taking it and just ripping into
yeah.
that and putting
Exactly.
stuff that you're not
That's
even reading.
it's like, so you know how you said HR didn't have a policy for it. Like my policy became like, if I see you've put no effort, then you don't truly want the job, and if you don't want the job, I don't want you. That kind of thing.
No, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So that was one thing, and also it's like, if you, because what ChatGPT tends to write, if you just tell it to like write a whole cover letter, it will be very vague, very
Yeah.
generic, and so that kind of disqualifies you as well. Like even if it wasn't ChatGPT, but it was just vague and general, again, it doesn't help me shortlist and pick people. So I
I
was
think,
just like,
yeah,
I'm not against using it. I've no problem with using it. But when the end result of using it is a generic, bland thing,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
then halas, you give me no choice, Yani.
It's also like people aren't users of it in the sense that they're not understanding the best way of using it to benefit both themselves and whoever, because you could feed it information about yourself, proper information that you've already got, pre-existing info.
Yeah,
Here's my CV from before, internalize that. Here's my whatever. Here's some projects I've done, internalize
yeah,
that. Okay, here's a job, whatever, and then you can do it that way.
yeah,
There's
exactly.
also, I suppose, like, because I mentioned this to my boss, I was like, everything we do. Like, I spent all day doing this yesterday. I said, everything we're doing now, we could have just had an AI do it. Like, I'm just because we have a minimum requirement, we have minimums that they need to meet to get an interview. I was like, well, it's all the CVs we're getting are anonymized anyway. All the applications we're getting are anonymized, so I can't tell their name, I can't tell their age, don't know where they're from, don't know. I can see education history, but I don't know where they've studied. You know, although some of that stuff would leak into other questions. So like they might not say where they worked business wise, but then they'll mention it in a different field. Like,
Okay.
oh, because I worked here, and that wasn't redacted properly by whoever did the
Oh,
redaction, right? But then I'm thinking, like, there was another thing. They've got policies here for uh, candidates with a disability that
yeah.
they get guaranteed into if they meet the minimums. And I'm like trying to sift through this thing, seeing if they've met the minimum. When I was like, well, if they're going to get an interview anyway, if they meet the minimum, then you could have literally had an AI just go through. Do they meet the minimum? Boom. Yes, they do. Okay, see you at the interview.
Yeah. When you
um,
say meet the minimum, isn't that though like a qualitative thing that you have to judge or?
it depends. So I didn't write the job description, and whoever didn't really clearly outline minimums, even though the policy for HR states that they have to have a minimum requirement. So there wasn't like a must have English, must have maths, must have
Oh,
this.
right.
It was a lot vaguer, you know, and there wasn't like a heading that said minimum requirements. It was more like lots of things. And I remember I asked him yesterday, I was like, if this is what you consider minimums, then I didn't have some of this stuff when I got this job. So I don't really know. Anyway, it's all a bit vague, but it just shows you that there are definitely companies out there. I remember I think it was like some podcast I was listening to, definitely on these like upfront cutting edge companies that use it all the time. Their HR departments use it all the time. That is how they sift through hundreds of applications. Is that they'll have a minimum, the AI will go through it. The AI itself will judge a candidate's versus other candidates and sift through and see who's the top don, right?
Yeah.
Um, and on one hand, you know what I did mention to him, I said it might even be better. Like I did a whole, I don't know, 2 hours worth of training just to do this, even though I've got experience hiring people before, but I had to do a new one with this organization. And it's all like how to be objective and how to get rid of biases and how to be aware of your unconscious biases and your discrimination and blah, 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 blah. I was like, what's more objective than a computer just doing this?
Yeah.
You know?
Depending on the
You
data
know?
that it's trained on. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I found myself yesterday getting tired towards the end of the day, judging every application based on the one that came previously, which
Yes.
I shouldn't be doing. And I'm
Yes.
trying to remind myself not to do that. But it's
Mm.
like, computer should be doing this, not me. That's objective.
100%.
That's objective.
100%. That is one of the best jobs for AI is when you have many like data points, if you like, and the human brain cannot keep all these data points in your mind at once, right? So the
Yeah.
AI can do that. So that's like a very good, like application number one that you read and application number 10, you're going to judge them differently in it. The AI, it's
100%.
not like that. So, bro, you know,
100%.
we were speaking about AI like almost every episode a few months ago. I think over the last 3 months, I've just been using it more and more and more and more, like, and to really good effect. Like,
Yeah.
so there was 3.5, then there was 4, now there's 4.0. This 4.0 model, bro, is
Oh,
good.
yeah. Yeah.
Like a couple weeks ago, I was analyzing our ads, okay, like like all of our ads for all time. It's
Yeah.
like it was a lot of spend, like $170,000 of spend, something like that. Loads of clicks. You can imagine like tens, hundreds of thousands of clicks, like so much data. So what I did was I took it, and you know, with this O model, it can read images. So you can actually just screenshot and give it that, and it will read what it is. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a text format. So I'm just like screenshotting and throwing it at it. And then what I'm doing is I'm basically having a conversation with the data, you know, and I'm asking it like, okay, out of, imagine you've got like 10 columns of data and you're like, okay, how do I say this? Which variable, which data point is most correlated to this main data point? So like, let's say the ads that were the most effective, let's say whatever the
Yeah. Yeah.
metric you want to use for that, which other metric most relates to that in terms of when that goes up, that also goes up. And it could
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
read all of it in one go and tell you this one. And it's even showing you its process. So it's like, okay, we're going to do this thing called Pearson's R, which allows you to calculate correlation between two data points. It's doing it, and it's like, yeah, so it is this and this data point together, they have a correlation of 0.7. Then you're like, okay, well, what does that mean? And they'll be like, yeah, so 0.1 is very weak correlation. 0.2 is this. 0.7 and above is very strong correlation. So it's
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
just going back and forth with it. But there is definitely a level of knowledge and understanding of how to use it. Like, for example, newbies or like me back in the day, I would like throw data at it and I'll be like, okay, which ads work the best? And that's like
Yeah. Yeah.
completely the wrong way to do it. Like you have to have more of a conversation. You have to basically put effort into it and guide it in a very specific way. Like I think Google, they did research on the best prompts and the best like ways people are getting benefit out of these kind of chat AI things. And the prompt that had the best outcome was at least 21 words long. So you know that if you're throwing like 5 word prompts at it, you know you're probably not going to get the best out of it. But definitely, bro, over time, especially with, I got the app on my phone like a couple of weeks ago as well. I'm just like using bro, this is insane. This is insane. On my balcony, there is like these big electrical wires just like sticking out of the wall. Okay. And it's just been there since I moved in. Not really sure what it was. Don't really use the balcony that much, whatever. But now I wanted to buy an AC. So I was thinking, is it possible that they've already like kind of wired it up, like ready to install the AC outside? So I took a photo of these wires sticking out, and
No way.
and
Yeah.
then in ChatGPT app, you can not only give it photos, but you can circle things or point to things in the photo. So I circled the wires. I'm like, what is this? And it literally told me, bro, it looks like, so it's like, these are a load of wires and stuff. It looks like this is a, system for installing an AC and blah, 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 blah. And it looks like there is
How?
these type of wires and these type of wires, and they go into this and they go into that. I'm like, this is next level, because the wires, bro, were like dusty and dirty and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
but wow,
Yeah. That's crazy.
wow.
I'm thinking now. I did a MOT on my car, and they mentioned like there was this one particular fault thing, something
Mm,
loose under the car, but it's not an issue. And I
yeah,
was like looking for it for ages. I tried Googling it and I couldn't really find it, the right
yeah,
answer.
yeah,
I did eventually find it, but if I could just take a photo of my car and then it just tells me what it is.
yeah.
That would be
100%.
great. That I'm thinking of all the use cases now. Um, yeah, this is
100%,
going to be
bro.
the thing that separates like the boys from the old men.
Mm.
You know, like how when computers first came about, it's like people were still very technophobic and not necessarily getting involved.
Mm.
This is the next thing, man. However,
Yeah.
when you look at was it chat, was it 4.0 or 4.0 or
4-0,
whatever,
yeah.
the newest, um, it is heavily relying on systems and processes that every human being already uses, which is just talking. You know, and if you can break that barrier of just talking to it as a human as opposed to talking to it as if it's a robot,
Mm.
or like removing the kind of mechanical way we search on Google, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
my however, although saying that, I've spoken to people who are less tech savvy, shall we say, who
Mm.
do search into Google in a conversational manner.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, tell me how many mosques there are in um, this
Mm.
town,
Mm.
whatever. That's
Mm.
like a very sentencey thing in Google. But what you would search in Google typically is, I don't know, London mosques, whatever, like
London Moss
how,
number, yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
number or something like that. Like you would just throw keywords.
I think that that's actually a difference in generation because I think the time we grew up, Google worked like that. But the last even 10 years, like even that long, it's got basically more understanding of what your intention is behind a sentence. So it can understand it better basically. Because obviously Google's been using AI for a very long time.
Yeah, yeah, and even now, like they subtly have been integrating AI into a lot of stuff that you use every day, but there was no big announcement of it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I've noticed this on Windows on my work computer is that I'll get an image sent to me or emailed to me, and like there's a little caption underneath where it's described what the image is.
Hmm.
But I know that was automatically done by some sort of AI somewhere within the system.
Yeah.
It like knows that that's what the image is. Even the iPhones have got that now. Like I can search something. I
Hmm.
can search like balloon, for example. Oh yeah, now look, now my Photos app is just coming up with any photo that had a balloon in it.
Yeah.
You can do that, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
76 photos I've got apparently that involve balloons.
Hmm.
You know, yeah, they're all like Eid and all sorts of stuff. So, but yeah. Anyway, that's I've run out of time now. I need to go back to doing what I need to do.
You have to go back
So,
to judging AI cover letters and stuff.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
All
The
right.
fun.
That's the pod. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
So, yeah.
It's probably.